Hello and welcome to For the Love of Truth. This is episode 222 and is another in the Back to Health series. In this episode, I'm going to be talking to Zuzanna about her health. Her story is very interesting to me because from a very young age, she shied away from the traditional healing modalities and set about finding ways to look after herself. And this carried on throughout her entire life. More recently, she's had a brush with skin and breast cancer, and we discussed how she dealt with those very effectively, very quickly, and with minimal impact on her system. And perhaps one of the things you can take away from this discussion is that if you do some research, if you look within yourself and look around, you will find alternatives, better ways of maintaining and recovering your health. And that's really what this discussion was all about. If you have a story you'd like to tell about your journey back to health, I would really like to talk to you. The best way to reach me is to go to fortheloveoftruth.co.uk and then go to the Contact Us page and complete the web form so that you and I can start a dialogue. And in closing, you guys are amazing. I hope you enjoyed the interview, and I will catch you in the next episode. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for joining me on the show, and I've been really looking forward to having a chat with you. And I've got to say again, I really like your artwork. It's just
Oh,
beautiful.
thank you. Thank you, Adrian. Thanks for having this space for a discussion like
Yeah.
these, that's great.
Yeah, no, that's good. I read you sent me a message with some interesting information on that. I don't know whether you want me to ask any questions on that or whether you just like to start talking a little bit about your story. How do you want to do this?
Ask me a question, get me going. That would be better.
Okay. All right. Well, you mentioned in there that you've been pretty much in charge of your own health for about 30 years. And what really started that out? Was that just an internal kind of, I need to do this, or did something prompt that to happen?
I don't think anything from the outside prompted it. From what I remember when I've been thinking back on it, because I knew we were going to talk possibly about this specific thing, it just made me think about, okay, so how did I get here where I am? I'm when I was about 15, I just started questioning everything. I mean, that's an age, I think, when people start to question things. But one of the big things I was questioning is, the things that we take as absolutes that have to happen. Like when I was a kid, I was always taken to the doctor when I was ill. And I just started thinking, wow, I wonder if I could use the stuff that's in my mother's kitchen cabinet to make something that makes me feel better when I have a cold. And so I would, it was just kind of like intuitive stuff. And I did, and it did. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. So I started reading, things about that, which were very minimal at the time, because we're talking like early 70s. So there was no internet to, dive into. It was just library at very best. And so I started, doing like things like deodorant and soap and toothpaste and things like that. I started questioning the use of that, and I started making substitutes of my own using baking soda and salt and various things, and that sort of started it off. And then when I got to England in the later 70s, I got a bout of food poisoning. And I had wanted, if anybody's ever had food poisoning, you'd really like somebody to come and shoot you. You'd pay them to do it, because you just feel so horrible. And I was like that. And a friend sent over a little vial of Arsen Elb homeopathic tablets. I'd never had any experience of homeopathy before, and I took it, and it was probably like 10 seconds, and I felt better. And it was like, oh my God, I've got to check this out. So that was the next thing that I checked out. And then after that was, I got interested in using locally grown healing herbs that I could find in the garden that I didn't plant, that were just in the yard or whatever, And that started me off on the whole big long thing. That was sort of a collection of things that happened. And then it was just like, whoo, well and away. And I trained formally in herbal studies, and I learned as much as I could as a lay person about homeopathy. And I used those two things pretty much for a greater part of that. And then I started kind of branching out into energy medicine, hands-on or hands-off healing, tuning forks. And Ayurveda is the thing that I'm using now to try and balance me up on a like every level, that I can, because I've had 3 years of intensity, not unpleasantness at all necessarily, but 3 years of real intensity, and it's become clear to me that my balance is off kilter somewhat. So I'm working with that.
It's interesting how sensitive you get over time, isn't it? When you're paying attention to yourself, and you can start to. Most people, I say most people, I'm doing them a disservice. Some people wouldn't be aware of. You can pick the little sensitive thing and think, I'm just offline, and you can nudge it back, and you don't have this big speed wobble and crash into the bushes. You get back on track again.
Yeah, yeah. And the more one pays attention to these things and acts on them, the more information will come.
Yes.
Just subtle, you might have a subtle feeling, but you'll also get some kind of information or an image or something like, maybe I should check out whatever,
Yeah.
And
That's
by
exactly
check out,
right.
I don't mean go to the doctor. I mean, check into it, like
Yeah, that's
focus
right. Yeah.
on
Well,
it.
I think literally when you go to the doctor, you are in risk of checking out permanently.
Oh, I think so. It's I've never been able to explain it. Maybe it's a past life experience or something like that. I've never had anything horrifying happen to me at the doctor's. I mean, questionable, yes, but not horrifying that would cause me to just completely go, I'm going to do it myself.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. That's really interesting. So it's the question I was going to ask you. I may have to cut some of this video as well, because my mind sometimes has gone.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm glad that happens to you, because sometimes I just kind of like get a wall and it's like, I can't think of that word.
Yeah, that happens a lot. But I'd say it's kind of interesting, because then I'll just stop and I'll wait. And then all of a sudden things will start popping in my head again, which is fine.
Right. And it makes you look like a real person to everybody else that's watching it,
Yeah. It's, if you are watching, I'm not a machine, despite what some people have told me I'm not. I'm just a rapidly functioning man.
Right. Oh my goodness.
Right. So you've obviously had some health issues. We all have. And this is one thing I said to someone the other day, don't think that just because we eat well, we drink the right kind of stuff, we're out in touch with the earth, we manage our thoughts as best we can, we meditate. Don't think that we don't have problems. But when we get a problem, I work into the problem and say, is this a cause or is it an effect? And invariably it's an effect. And then you start to work back upstream to look for where the cause is.
Yeah.
And then you fix it. And I noticed in your message to me, you said you'd had cancer.
Yeah.
And cancer is definitely an effect. It's not a cause, but when they treat it as a cause, they're going to make it worse. Whereas if you look for the effect, then you've got, you're in with an easy chance of being able to resolve the effect then.
Right. That's what I think. And the tool that I'm using to find the cause is Ayurveda now. So I'm just like really, I've had little touch-ins with that over my life, but this time I'm like giving it the good old college try. I'm doing it, I'm not eating what I shouldn't eat and eating what I should eat, and all the whole 9 yards. And it's really making a difference in my ability to sleep, which has been a lifelong issue. And I think when your sleep is chronically disturbed, which I could say mine was insomnia, your health is eventually going to falter.
Yeah.
It's really going to falter. Sleep is so important. We don't realize it when we're young because we bounce back so easily. But as you get older, you realize, hey, I'm not bouncing back so much. I'm not bouncing back at all or whatever, and just drag around. And so I think the Ayurvedic protocols are really going to be making a difference, and it gives me insight into a variety of things. So the cancer that I started realizing I had for about 2 years prior to, so let's see, 2018, when I first started on my nomadic lifestyle, and I went off camping for a few months. And during that time, I think I developed what is kind of classically a sun cancer thing, like a little circular, about as big as a pencil eraser, a little circular red thing on my right forearm. And I thought, okay, I'm going to watch that. And I didn't really know that was the classic image of a skin cancer to come, but I sort of had a feeling it was. And so I just kind of kept an eye on it. And then last summer, when I was camping in really extreme heat for the last 2 summers, I got this kind of full body reaction of looking sort of like a rash, but it's not really kind of a rash, I don't think. It was my body's inability to deal with the heat on multiple levels. And my skin got so sensitive, it felt like anything that touched it, even like a wisp of air, was like burlap rubbing on raw skin. It was bizarre. It was bizarre. And shortly after that, that's when the thing on my arm that I'd been keeping an eye on changed. And I thought, aha, that's it. It is cancer. And at the time, what I did know of a plant that I could see growing where I was camping, and I used it for like several days. I would chew up the plant called a spit poultice and put it on the spot and kind of bind it so it would stay there. And I would change that every 3 hours. And it changed the thing. It drew stuff out. It changed the whole look of the thing. It became sore, which eventually then when I stopped the poultices on it, it healed over, and that was that. Then when I went over to a friend's house during that time, she told me about a mutual friend of ours who used this herbal product called Cansema that is really, the guy has to live in Ecuador because he's been run out of the States because he cures cancer, all kinds of cancers. And so I ordered a jar. It's a little tiny jar, and you just use a tiny little bit of it all the time. And wow, it does this amazing thing. It draws the cancer up and out, and the body then kind of does its thing and pushes. It becomes like it's a white thing that happens, and then gradually it becomes a scab, and the body pushes it out. And then one can, after a time, put some more of this Cansema herbal combination on it, and if there's any more cancer there, because the way it is designed, it's the ingredients react only with cancer cells. So I was experimenting, putting it on different molds and stuff like that, and nothing happens unless it is cancer. And then it's very clear what it is. So that's what happened with skin cancer. Oh, yay! What's his name?
This one. She's lovely. And for some reason, my mind's gone blank. It's my cat. This is ridiculous.
It's okay. It's your cat. That's fine. And it's a beautiful black cat.
She is, yeah. She had a brother too, but he decided to go walkabout and never came back last year.
Oh, that's so heartbreaking when that happens, isn't it? Oh, my God.
Yeah, this one got locked in a cupboard yesterday. Bless her. Oh, no, you're not drinking any more water. You drank the last glass. Leave it.
I love cats.
Yeah, she was sat on the piano stool over there. Now she's sat across my notes, so now we are stuck.
Okay.
Anyway, before the cat decided to join us, and she only joins special people.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you.
Although she's now going to headbutt the mic. Really? I'm definitely going to have to edit some of this out. Let me just move the thing so you can see her. 1 second.
Yeah, I want to see her. Hello, sweet pea. How are you, darling? Beautiful girl.
She is, yeah. Yeah, she's very special, this one. Aren't you, sweetie? Right, now what have I done? I've ruined everything. This is great.
Can't have an interview without a cat involved. It makes it very special, I think.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, she does. She helps a lot. Very sweet.
Yeah, I bet they do. They know what's needed, even if we don't.
Absolutely, yeah. So now can I have the microphone back, do you think? Really? We'll just have to wait for a second.
Yeah, that's okay.
So are we done now? Done with you walking around? We good? Sure. Can I have your permission to start? Thank you. We were talking about that little vial of healing stuff.
The Cansema stuff.
Cansema stuff, yeah, thank you.
And in America, it's not called Cansema, it's called Amazon, because he can't label it Cansema. So Canada and America have this sort of moratorium on healing cancer unless it's done by the professionals. And so this guy,
I'm not so keen on that methodology, unfortunately.
No kidding. Me neither. Yeah. And so this guy is kind of like he had to leave the country basically, and he and his wife live in Ecuador now, and you can still get all his products and things like that. And I got his book on it. It's called Black Salve is the general kind of name for it.
Yeah.
And I got the book, and it's like his 30 years of exploration using this combination of things and what he's seen, you know, and it's really quite amazing. And, you know, we discover what we're supposed to discover when we're supposed to discover it. You know, I never heard about it before. And I went over to my friend's house and said, hey, look, you know, and she said, I've got something for that, you know, and it was just like, I ordered it like within minutes after that.
Yeah.
And it was lucky because I started getting more reactions, more expressions of cancer.
Yeah.
The next one was some kind of funny itching thing that happened on the outside lower right breast. And I put the Cansema on it, and it like, whoa, it brought up a big, you know, like a dime-sized white whatever. And the white is the dead cells, cancer cells and your body cells. And I had an intuitive hit, and you're really not supposed to do this, but I follow my intuition. According to the book, you're not supposed to really do this. I put the patch, the Cansema goes on for a 24-hour period. You take it off, and then the healing process goes on for about a month. But I did 3 days in a row with a new Cansema bandage on my breast 3 times in a row, and it's brought out a huge amount of cancer. It was breast cancer. Luckily, it was close to the surface so that it could, you know, get that action and draw it out. And I took photographs of it every day, and so I could see the healing processes. And it was basically very fascinating to me. You know, I mean, I did get a few kind of like, when I first took the first patch off and knew that it was cancer, it was like, whoa, recalibration.
Yeah.
Well, you kind of like reorient your thought processes to what you need to do now, you know, but I wasn't scared or like, oh shit, I'm going to die or, you know, anything like that. It was like, I get to experiment with this again. I can't experiment on anybody but me. So I'm a willing subject. So I'm rare to go. So that was in October where the breast cancer showed up. And after about a month, all the scabbing dropped off, and then it leaves, depending on how deep it is, it will leave purple scarring. And so I've used the DMSO on it to sort of ease the scarring thing, and it's healing up pretty nicely. And for these deep ones, it can take about a year for the scarring to go away. But I mean, who cares, right? I don't have cancer.
Yeah, what's the rush?
You know, I didn't have any of the hassle of doctor's appointments and hospital appointments and, you know, God forbid, chemo and surgery and all that sort of stuff.
Well, the cut, poison and burn brigade.
Yeah.
I have the same reaction to that. It's a very physical, oh God.
It is a physical, a visceral recoiling, you know. And so, as I said, that was October. So the sun-caused skin cancer was in July. The breast cancer was in October. And in January of this year, I had a tiny little thing on my hand that was like, it was kind of like sticking up, and I peeled it off, and I thought, well, I mean, if it is cancer, it'll come back and I'll see, you know, and I kind of like pulled it off or whatever like that. And it did come back. So then I put the Cansema on it. And it was just very, very small, but it was cancer. And oddly enough, and I think it's a reaction to the application of the Cansema, that if there's something else in your body, it could show up. In fact, there's a doctor, I believe he's in Peru, who uses Cansema as a diagnostic tool. He'll put a patch of Cansema on somebody's thigh, and somewhere else on the body where there's cancer will show, it's called an Eschar, technically is an Eschar, and that's the white thing, and that will become a scab and then fall off. So Eschar is the correct word. And so he has this diagnostic thing that he does with that Cansema stuff. And I think that's what happened to me. I think that I put it on this little thing, and then I had 2 more show up on my side and back, you know, one on my side, one on my back. And all of these have been in the same area, right? The arms are related to the heart center. The chest is obviously heart center. And it doesn't surprise me, knowing my history, that this area might be the one that's kind of like, you know, it needs a lot of attention. And, you know, I've been a sort of person who has tried to fit in with what everybody else wants and all that kind of stuff. And
that'll get you in the end.
don't anymore. And it got me in the end. It doesn't, I haven't been doing it for a while. However,
Yeah, I have the T-shirt for that as well.
Pardon?
I have the T-shirt for that experience as well.
Great, excellent. What's that one say?
Don't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so so I did the patches on those things, and the back was really challenging to get, but I was able to do it on my own. And they went through their process, and they itch, and they, thing. And about a month later, after the 24 hours of that patch, about a month later, the scab will drop off, and it starts, the next stage of the healing process. And that's where I am today. And it's just fascinating to watch the body do what it does in conjunction with a herbal preparation. There's something else in it as well. I think it's like zinc chloride or something like that. That's an old timey. I mean, he goes through the history of this. People have been doing this and knowing about this since the ancient Greeks and probably before.
Yeah.
It's not news. I'm not like a trailblazer here.
No.
And I figure that part of my reason for experiencing this, and I'm so thrilled to do so, and thank you for the opportunity, is to let women know, and people in general, that there are other options.
Yeah, that actually are extremely straightforward, that aren't particularly painful, that are non-invasive, that are very supportive.
Exactly.
And don't damage anything but the thing that needs to be healed. In fact, they don't damage that, they just heal it.
Right. And you don't go through the emotional and psychological turmoil that friends of mine have gone through, that I've seen when they do this conventional rigmarole. Yeah. And I think rigmarole is the right word.
Well, it's just some sick, twisted, evil, nonsensical pantomime they get wrapped up in, and they play the bad part that's going to get hurt.
Yeah.
But that's my take. The more I've looked at it and the more I've worked around it, it's like, Jesus Christ, I do not like this. It's like a horror film I'm watching.
It is like a horror film, and people are still donating to the Cancer Research Society, and, they think that they're doing such a good thing. And, they're not. If they wanted to find a cure, there has been a cure for at least a couple hundred years, if not many thousands. There is a cure. If they wanted a cure, they would have it. They would know it, because here it is.
In addition to that as well, the very ones that are promoting the use of the certain dangerous products in order to resolve the problem are the same companies higher up the chain that caused the problem in the first place with the toxicity.
There you go. There you go. Yes.
So it's this kind of revolving door. It's a never-ending thing. It's just around and around and around, feeding itself all the time. Yeah. And you don't have to step into that world. You can take a step back. You can look for additional information, and you can support your system to do what it wants to do and what it knows how to do, because it's there to keep you well. It's not there to make you sick. You don't want to attack it. You want to listen to it and work with it.
Right. Right. I've been thinking a lot about what you said the other day when we talked, and you mentioned it today also, that cancer is an effect of a cause. Yeah. And that makes so much sense to me. I've known that, but I didn't articulate it quite as clearly as that. Yeah. And it's such a wonderful, I don't know, just like an enlightenment statement in a way, that don't just, we're such a Band-Aid culture, we just love the Band-Aid, so we don't have to pay attention to it, check out and not pay attention or take responsibility or whatever. And
I mean, when it comes down to it, cancer is your body's last-ditch attempt in that area to keep you alive, because the voltage has collapsed, oxygenation has collapsed. So, it's doing what it can. It's creating its own new blood supply in order to do that. And the medical industry look at that and go, oh, that's a tumor. We need to cut that out. No, that's to try and heal you. Go back upstream, find out what the cause is. And then when you start to look at like the work of Jerry Tennant, and you look at because the body's just a big electrical piece of machinery, if you will, that any emotional stress can get stored in the muscle fascia, in the teeth, in the nerves as an electromagnetic charge. And that electromagnetic charge affects the voltage. And then when the voltage comes down to a certain level, it flips and goes positive. It gets to that point, cancer has to develop. It has no choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then you start to work on the emotional side of things as well, which is what you're talking about doing.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And I've been doing this for a long time, and it's still, I still have that charge and lack of health within me. And I shudder to think, if I wasn't doing what I've been doing all these 30 plus years, I'd be dead. I'd probably be dead.
Yeah.
Because, or, in a catatonic state with tubes and shit all in me or something.
Yeah, and full of so many toxins you can't think anymore, and everything's reacting with everything else, and you've got no functioning. I mean, this is what I talked about with who was it I was talking about this with the other night? Oh, it was Tony, and he said, it wasn't Tony. I forget now. I've spoken to that many people in the last couple of weeks.
I know. That's
but it was basically saying that people shouldn't be frightened of death. They should be frightened of not living.
Right. Well, that's another point I wanted to make. Thank you for putting that out. Never once was I afraid of dying. I'm not afraid of dying.
Yeah.
I'm afraid how I might die, and that's one of the things that informs my choice not to go to a regular doctor. Because that would be pretty untenable. The possibilities are untenable to me. And it's our culture sort of deals with that, inculcating within everybody the fear of aging, first of all, with our youth culture, and then everything else that's piled on top of that, and a fear of death, because that's it. You're done. And I mean, what a horrible thought that would be for people.
It's a thought that doesn't make any sense.
It's a thought that doesn't make any sense, but it really helps commerce.
Absolutely.
And in the past, it has helped the church, when they were into that whole, when they were the power. Now it's commerce that is the more powerful.
But it's still religion, because all science has become religion.
I know.
And so it's still just another form of the priests controlling.
Religion, yeah. It's the religion of the 20th century, 21st century. Absolutely. Right. I agree wholeheartedly. Yeah.
It's a fascinating thing. It is a fascinating. So here's a question for you. Knowing what you know now, and I've been asking this of everyone because it's such a cool question. Right. If you could go back and give a message with your wise head and your wise heart now to the younger you, what would you say?
That's a great question. And I know exactly what I'd say is, find out that you really are, not find out.
Remember,
act as if you matter, that you are a sovereign being, that you are, you don't have to take what people will very easily dish out to you.
Yeah.
You can say no.
Yeah.
I didn't know I could say no for a very long time, and just took, whatever kind of came my way.
Yeah.
And that was usually not good. It was usually unpleasant choices, And so what I would say to her is that you really matter, and think of yourself as a sovereign being. You have choices.
Mm-hmm.
You can absolutely make the choice that you feel. I would also say you've got all the software in this fabulous hardware body. Learn how to use it.
Yep.
And here's how you can start. Yoga. Learn about that, That's a really good introduction. And I was doing yoga at a very young age, but I didn't have any self-worth, self-esteem, self-confidence, that sort of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a long, hard journey to get out of that. But clearly it was something I needed to do. Well,
I was going to say one other thing to you. Would you actually change any of it because you wouldn't arrive where you are now, would you?
No, I wouldn't.
Funny
I
that.
Wouldn't. Yeah. Because I really like who I am now. And I thank everybody who's, kicked a shit out of me. And it's, I really like where I am right now.
Yeah. Well, diamonds are formed under pressure. You know that.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. No, I feel the same. I've had some choice experiences during my life, and I've made some choice decisions, and other decisions have been made for me before I knew I could say no.
Yeah.
And as much as it was horrible at times, and just really feel like you've been beaten into the ground and then some, I wouldn't change any of it, because I wouldn't be who I am and what I can do right now. And the level of grounding and centering that I feel around it, it makes it unstoppable, because you become like a big old gnarly redwood or something. Doesn't matter what happens, you ain't going anywhere. Yeah, you might
Yeah,
creak a little bit and the odd branch might say it's going to crack if the pressure picks up, but you'll lose a branch. Doesn't matter. Just grow another.
right, right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I sort of feel like, it's, tempered by fire,
Yeah.
and certainly in the last 3 years as a nomadic person, I've learned so much about myself and what I'm capable of, and that the world as a whole is filled with really kind people and
Yeah.
kindness and joy and love, and I didn't know that before that. I didn't know that before that. I suspected it wasn't.
Yeah, well, yeah, but everything in the system, everything in the education, everything in the entertainment, everything is designed to make you think it's not that way, and you have to compete, and it's all over. But my experience has been, very much the same too. Sure, there are some horrible people, there really
Yeah.
are,
There's
and that,
horrible things that happen, absolutely.
yeah. But at the same time, there is incredible compassion and kindness in all sorts of places you wouldn't expect it. And I have to say as well that in my experience, the ones who have the least to give the most.
I have heard that over and over the last 3 years,
Yeah.
and it's true.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
It's
an
true.
interesting thing, which
It
is
really
why
is.
I made a decision years ago. I've got nothing.
Yeah.
I own very little. I want nothing because that way
Right.
I never get trapped by the crap that I was trapped by all those years ago.
Right. Me too. I have as much as I can fit into my small Hyundai Elantra. And if it doesn't fit in there, I figure out a way to, get rid of it or organize it somehow, not need it.
Yeah.
I'm an artist, so my paintings and stuff like that, I have a friend who very kindly is storing those for me because that would have been very hard to ditch.
You don't want to dish them like the ones behind you. Just you mustn't.
Yeah, thank you.
But
Thank
they'd
you.
make great prints like we talked about the other day.
Yes, they would. I've got to get that camera. I'm still researching that. And yeah, thank you
Yeah.
for that encouragement. That was really
But
good.
you may also find that there is someone at a university that has access to some very high-end equipment that may love to do some photographs for you, just so you can see how they look. A friend of mine had a beautiful house built by taking a university student in architecture, and they designed the house as part of their end of year project. So he got a free design.
Wow, cool. That's a
Yeah.
neat idea. See, I don't think of things like that. I don't move in those directions. Thank you.
It's
That's
just
excellent.
you're welcome. It's I'm always conscious that if I think of something that's well, it's thinking outside the box. I always try and climb out of the box first and say, what can I see? And invariably it's like, whoa, look at this. And then try not to get distracted by everything.
I know, I know. Right, right, exactly.
Another friend of mine wanted to do something to do with they wanted some kind of promotional video done. So they went and got someone that was doing video editing and sound design at the university again. And they helped them put the project together just as part of their experience. Didn't cost him anything.
That's so cool. That's so cool. See, I'm very confident when it comes to my health,
Hmm.
but as far as a career type thing,
Hmm.
I don't have any. It doesn't feel like I can that I have confidence in that.
Hmm.
And perhaps that's something that will come, or that's just, hey, I'm happy having the confidence that I have in my health. I mean, that's
Stick with
pretty
that. Stick,
awesome.
no one has to do this. You key off your strengths,
Right.
and your
Right.
strengths will support you because other people will gladly, contribute back for the knowledge that you can give and wisdom on your health that impacts their life, like you've done in this story.
Yeah. Great. That's
Yeah.
great. Thank you. I love being able to have new input that makes me think in other directions, like just your several suggestions that you've given me. It's just like, wow, that opens up a whole new, because I tend to be like this, when it
Yeah.
has the
We all
career
do.
thing, because I just don't like focusing on it. I hate it. It's
Yeah.
just like I want to do that. I don't want to think about anything else, and that's
Well,
kind of like been my habit.
here's a question for you then, if you want the question.
Sure. Absolutely.
Given the skills that I have, this is you to say to yourself, given the skills that I have and the things that I'm passionate about and I love doing, like the yoga, like the art, my health, is there a way that I can envision using this in order to get the things that I require in my life
Yeah. Yeah.
and see what comes up?
Right. That's a great question. That's
Because
a good.
when I wrote my book as an example, I didn't write that for anyone else. I wrote that for me. It was notes
Yes.
to me because there were so many things coming in. I didn't want to lose them. And then I started giving the book away. Then I thought, actually, something that's got for free has no value. So let's start charging for it. And then I worked out that I wasn't actually asking for enough for the value that's in the book because it's constantly updated forever. So then I doubled the price and we sold 40 times as many books.
You read these stories all the
Yeah.
time, and it's like it's true, and it's sort
Yeah.
of like I feel like I don't have the pass key
Yeah.
sort of thing to really know that. I hear it, but it doesn't
But
like.
then maybe a better question would be, don't tell yourself you haven't got the pass key, because then everything around you goes, oh, she hasn't got the pass key. That's fine.
Right.
Where is the pass key?
Yes. Oh God, yeah. I've got to listen to that video of yours again and take notes this time. The one about asking questions. It was so awesome.
Yeah. And by the way, one of the questions I'm always asking myself is, I've got no idea what to ask a question on. What's a good question right now? And I wait. Because a question will bring a question. But honestly, it opens up so many doors when you do that with your health. Given when things break around me, I'm always assuming that I will find the thing I need. I mean, I had something break recently and I needed a drill bit. Where I was, there wasn't. I didn't need a tool. I just needed a drill bit to do something. I thought, this is ridiculous. I'm out in the middle of nowhere. There has to be a drill bit here somewhere. And I found something that was a broken drill bit that worked. Another time I've been on a walk and I thought I could really do with a golf ball. And I'm out in the woods, in the middle of nowhere, and I'm visualizing a golf ball, just playing in my head with it. And about 20 minutes later, I walk around the corner and there's a golf ball on the track. I'm like, that'll do. Thank you very much.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Hey, well, I can really relate to that. That makes a lot of sense. And I can tell you this really fun story of that several years ago when I was living in New York and I was studying art formally, and I would go on an excursion to the country because I mean, the city just kind of like makes me crazy, but I needed to be there for it. So I was on retreat for a couple of weeks or something like that. And I was really getting into collecting feathers and bones and drawing them because it was just beautiful.
Stop.
Yeah. There you go. Wow. Yeah. Excellent.
I've stopped doing it now for the videos and stuff, but usually I have my crystal outside and I've stuffed all the feathers around it.
Nice. Yeah. That's lovely. I love it. Good. Yay. Another point of contact. Point of connection. That's right. Yeah. So I was finding all these deer bones and things like that. And they're just beautiful things. I mean, if you didn't believe in God, you'd believe in God by just looking at these amazing bones, pelvises and things, Yeah. So I thought, well, wouldn't it be nice if I found an antler? I'd really love an antler. So I specifically went out one day and I said, okay, if I'm going to find an antler, I'm going to have to think like a deer or feel like a deer. And so I kept repeating to myself, quiet and calm and gentle like a deer. And I did this for about half an hour, walking through the woods, down some trails and stuff like that. And then for no reason whatsoever, I went off the path, 12 feet, stopped, looked down at my feet, and there was something that looked like a stone buried in the soil. And I bent down and started digging away with it. Damn, it was an antler, a buried antler, a 4-pointer in the ground. And I keep that one, especially because I had to get rid of all the other stuff because you can't keep 15 boxes of bones in your car, right?
You might get some questions from that.
Exactly. Yeah. I think of that. If I can find a buried antler, I can find whatever I need.
That's right. Well, I have a question for you then. What would happen if you went and had a nice little ceremony with the antler and asked it the same question because it knows?
Yeah. I like the way you think. Awesome.
Well, it only works this way because every other way of thinking doesn't work. So a bit like when you want to create, you want to create a sculpture. From what I've seen, what they actually do is they take away everything that shouldn't be there to leave
So because you're conceptualizing the whole thing and you just take it away. Yeah, that's exactly.
But that's what I do when I'm doing if I'm editing a video and stuff. I'm taking stuff away that shouldn't be there. It's the same when I design software, because my view on software isn't when I've crammed everything in I can put in it. It's when I've taken away everything that shouldn't be there, so it just does one thing. And then it's a very simple, clean design. Now, it could be hugely complex, but each bit is tiny and clean the way it should be.
Right.
And I think that, when things happen, I take note, this will make you laugh as well. And everyone can explain this away any way you want. I'm going to stick with my take on this because it supports me and it makes me feel good.
Right.
So I've been down to see my daughter when she lived down south, and I'm driving back, and then I'm thinking about traffic, and all of a sudden I'm in this enormous traffic jam on the highway. And I'm like, all right, fair enough. And I've been in there. We hadn't moved for about an hour and a half. And I'm thinking, this is ridiculous. I'm not impressed with this at all. Two things need to happen. First of all, I need to go for a pee. So, and the second thing is I need a magic wand because I don't want this to be here, because this needs to be gone. And I'm looking down, I've got an app out and it says, you're going to be here for another 5 hours. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not having that. So I've gone up into the woods at the top of the embankment. I had a pee and I'm like, right, where's a wand? So I sat down on the ground for a few minutes. I'm thinking it's around here somewhere. I walked across, bent down and picked it up, and there it was. And so I just said, right, all the traffic be gone, did some kind of mad stuff, laughed and joked with myself, got in the car. 10 minutes later, we drove off and all the cars were gone. Just everything disappeared. And then it was some accident they managed to clear early. So that wand lives in my car now.
God, that makes me cry. I'm tearing up. Oh my God, that is just too awesome. I hope that you put this in because I want my daughter to hear that especially.
Oh, no, we'll leave that in. There are so many things that are magical in this place if we'll just let them be magical.
Yes, absolutely.
But it's when you're lighthearted with it and you play with it, because people go, I'm going to do this and manifest this. Like hell you are, because you're so concentrating on the fact it's not there. It's got no chance to arrive because you're holding it away.
Right. That's it. That's the thing is that lightheartedness and not being attached to outcome. You're just like, this is what I want. And then you go, and that's when it happens. But if you try to, like that forcing your mind or forcing your will, I guess maybe would be a better way of saying it, that doesn't work.
No, it doesn't. And that I think that just certainly came to me over experience and out of tons of frustration about this. Just, it's not going to happen. And yet I kept thinking back, well, like, there's all sorts of crazy stories I could tell about stuff like that I don't normally share with people, because they look and go, you're mad. I know. 100% I am, but it works nonetheless. In fact, it seems to work better when you relax and become a bit crazy. Yeah,
I think so too. It's something that I aspire to. I tend to be a very serious, person in my pursuits. The things that interest me, I'm very serious about. And so I have to, lighten up.
Yeah. Lighten up, chill out, have a laugh. My girlfriend always laughs at me. She said, because something happens and I'll trip up, and as I'm hitting the deck, I'm laughing because I think it's hysterical.
Yeah.
Or I tell you one funny thing, because she's just such an amazing woman, and I'm so blessed to have her in my life. If I were out on a walk together and I might take the mickey, I might rib her a little bit about something, every single damn time, within 10 or 12 seconds, a route will be where it shouldn't be, and I'll trip up or I'll walk into something. And she just looks at me and I go, yeah, I know it deserves me right, or it serves me right rather, but it was worth it. But it happens every time. It's never not happened.
It's so awesome. That's great. I love it. Oh my
But it doesn't stop me doing it. Because it's still great fun.
Oh my God, I love it.
Yeah. Well, that turned into a different kind of conversation, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. It did. Yeah. It's a magical world. It's a magical world, and what you need will show up. Like the Cansema did for me, like your wand did for you, like anything else.
Yeah. All sorts have shown up. And in many ways, it's like with all this craziness that's going on in the world, we're managing to touch and have conversations that I would never have had. There's no way our paths would have crossed. I can't see that ever happening, but they have.
Right.
Right. And
I've had that with many people.
Yep.
If last year hadn't happened, I'm friends with amazing people now, suddenly, kind of like out of the woodwork. And it's like, wow, finally, it's about bloody time, Yeah.
Well, what's interesting with that is because that then makes me think that this is actually, in many ways, it's so wrong. It's incredibly supportive as well, if you will allow the elements of it to be and focus on those elements. So more of those elements come forth, and we don't focus on the bad, the unpleasant, the frightening side of it, lest more of that comes forth.
Right. That's absolutely true. And I know that's 100% true, because I've been with people who are just like, like stuck to the TV and the numbers and all this sort of stuff. And they look horrible, they feel horrible, they can't sleep, they're just, kind of like mean and whatever, that kind of like tied up. And the people who just kind of like, yeah, okay, it's out there, it's happening, and I'm focusing on this garden, or I'm focusing on this painting, or I'm focusing on, making something for my friend who's ill, good stuff, nice stuff, loving things.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Go and hang
100%.
out
Yeah.
with a tree, man. You know, it's one of the best
I
healers
just,
ever.
the trees, I have many favorite trees. In fact, I go and talk to them all. I can't help it. Or I walk. The other day I went for a walk. I was telling Tom this, and I consciously tried to touch every tree that was nearby. So as a consequence, the walk took ages because some of the trees I went, oh, okay. And I had to stop because it felt different. So
Yeah.
then I could just sit there touching it until it felt, all right, whatever's gone between us is gone, and move on. If anyone would watch, I'm sure they would have thought it was very strange that this guy, because I walk circles around them, I'm talking to them. It's great. And we've got some lovely, really old woodland around here.
It is wonderful. There, I had this wonderful, just in the next house over where I used to live, I had this wonderful tree that I called a teacher tree.
Hmm.
And it started out where I would sit out under it every night to watch the stars in the wintertime, bundle up and just lay out for a couple of hours and everything like that. And all of a sudden, you know, after a period of time, I felt that, you know, there's some kind of communion going on, you know,
Mm-hmm.
there's something going on. I really love this tree. I want to cuddle up with this tree. You know, it was just this huge, giant tree. And she taught me bunches of stuff, you know, and it was incredible. And I painted her, and then she got hit by lightning and the owner had to take her down. That was
But she served her purpose.
really tough. I think so.
Yeah. You see, when all this kicked off, I go up into the old woods and I sit there and I ask all the trees for guidance. And I say, listen, you guys know you've seen this all before, all of you, all over the place, talk. And if you can give me any insight, any guidance, I mean, this is going to sound completely wacko to some people. I don't care.
Yeah, don't care.
But the kind of insights and the hints, they just come back. And it's a really interesting thing. And I've got one tree, actually, it's got this beautiful kind of curve. You can climb in and just kind of lie back in and relax.
Oh, nice.
Oh, it's amazing.
That's great. That's great. I used to, when I was a kid, I was always up in the trees.
Same as.
And as an adult, I don't really climb anymore, and I want to. And when I lived in England, and I lived in the country in England, sorry, and I would climb up in the trees when I had to make some like big monumental decisions, and it was always, you know, the right decision. It was never like, oh man, I shouldn't have done that, you know. It was wonderful. I mean,
the trees know. The trees know. Yeah.
Yeah, they're incredible souls, and they're very willing to engage with us, and you know, they're not like, oh, those goddamn humans, you know, they've messed everything up, I'm not giving them the time of day. You know, it's not like that. You know, if you come up to them and they're just like, love pours out of them.
Yeah, we have a tree in the town. I haven't found it yet. Someone was telling me about it the other night, and I want to find it. They said it's coming up on 1,000 years old.
Wow.
And that would be, I want to find that tree. We have to have a discussion.
Yeah, definitely. Where do you live?
In North Wales.
Oh, in North Wales. Okay. Because you had mentioned Manchester when we talked earlier.
I lived there for a long time.
Oh, okay. I lived there too. I lived there for a couple of years, and my daughter was born there.
Oh, okay. Whereabouts?
In Urmston.
Urmston, yeah. Okay. I used to live in Salford.
Yeah, that's just down the road.
That's right, yeah.
There you
and
go.
Then 7 years ago I escaped.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, good.
And I live somewhere where I used to hear the police sirens constantly during the day and see the police helicopters every night, to coming down here, and I didn't hear a police siren for 5 years.
Great. That's great. Good job.
Well, that was just the most magical conversation. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. This was great. You know, these conversations with people that we find out there, you know, it's just like, it makes everything worthwhile.
Yeah.
Thank you for you know, interacting as you do on your channel, and for, you know, having me come and talk. You know,
yeah, you're welcome. And I would encourage everyone to get out and have conversations like this with people, because, you know, we only met briefly on the phone the other day just to have that initial chat. You can have some magical discussions with people that you don't know if you'll just open your soul up and talk from your heart.
Absolutely. That's the thing. That's the thing.
Yeah.
You know, when I'm attracted to somebody's energy, that means something. And and if I'm brave enough, like, you know, when I sent you the initial email, you know, it turns into another magical experience.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I will get this edited up. Don't know, next couple of days, and then I will probably schedule it to go live over the weekend. I'll send you all the links and everything,
Okay, cool.
and we'll create a podcast episode from that as well. I might even leave the cat. I'll leave the cat in the video, I think,
Well,
maybe
leave the
some of
cat
it.
in the video. It's good energy.
Yeah, will do. Yeah, but in the podcast, it won't make any sense, so that'll probably get snipped out. But I don't know. It might not. Because what happens is I listen to stuff and go, should I, shouldn't I? What feels right, what doesn't? And if I can't decide, I'll go and sit in the garden, or I'll go stand in the stream or something. That's what I meant to say. Not any of the trees are good. Standing in running water is unbelievable.
I heard that when I lived in England. There was a place near Bedford when I was living at the yoga center, and there was a bridge, an old bridge, and the tales that the folk there would tell is that was a healing stream that people used to come and take their chair, strip off and sit in the chair and let the water just kind of like run through them like a long time ago. And they knew what was going on. And that's the thing that people do. I've read that with, the gypsies and indigenous people and everything, that's a thing, is to sit in running water.
Well, still water draws energy from you like a bath, but running water gives energy to you, as far as I understand it.
That makes so much sense. Just hearing that, it just makes so much sense.
Which is why I think you feel wiped out after a long hot bath. It's not just the heat, whereas a hot shower doesn't do the same thing. So my preference is I'll go and sit and meditate in a hot shower.
That's great.
Because you've got the sound. It's like rain. You've got the sound of the running water. You've got the feel.
Right.
It's just everything just feels just right.
I love that. I love your take on things. It's awesome.
They're not all my takes. There are other people's takes as well, but I'm good at going, I'll have that.
Yeah. You're kind of like, you're funneling it down. You're collecting everything, and then you can disseminate again. Another point of dissemination.
That's right. Yeah. I shall be the disseminator, I think.
You can get a t-shirt that says that.
I've got one that says free hugs. That's not very popular right now for some reason.
I know.
But hey ho, keep offering.
Well, I'd hug you if we met over there. I wouldn't say no. That would be okay.
That was wonderful. Thank you very much, and I'll get some information over to you as and when it's done.
Okay, great. Thanks, Adrian.
Look after yourself. Take care.
Yeah, have a great week.
Likewise. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Bye.